Sox fan. I'm sorry, dude.
Yep, I'm a White Sox fan. It's been a rough decade. Welcome back to the Retro Sports Gamer channel. And this is another Retro Sports Gaming Monthly. It is July 2018. And I'm here with the guys from the No Frills Tough Guy League, Ray and Jordan. What's up, guys?
What's happening, Tom? What's happening, Internet?
So, tell us a little bit about what it is you guys do.
Twice a year, we get together for a full weekend and play through an entire season of Tecmo Super Bowl III with 10 players, 10 active teams. We fill up 2 divisions in the NFC, and we play through a whole season and then the playoffs.
And we stream.
When did you guys start doing this? How long?
2006.
2006. So did you start out just doing this together, keeping stats and everything, and then you started the Twitch streaming later, or did you start with that as well?
2006, we started with, we were getting together every Sunday, just a bunch of us as buddies watching football together. We all played fantasy football together. And we just started playing Tecmo while football was on. And then it kind of turned into what we're doing now. But back then, it was every Sunday. We got together for like 12 to 14 hours. We played Tecmo the whole time, and we would do it again the following weekend. We did that for like 9 seasons. And then we called it quits. We didn't play for about 2.5 years. And because people weren't able to come every Sunday anymore. People started, having families and kids and wives so 2000, I think it was 2011. It was January 2012. We restarted, and at first we were only recording our games. We always recorded our stats, but we were recording our games. And then we did about 4 seasons that way, and then we started streaming everything on Twitch. So it would have been like, what was our 14th season was the first one we streamed on Twitch. But it's our original 3 seasons that we played, we had a different format, so we kind of renumbered our system. So we're actually right now we're about to go into our 20th season under the new system.
So why is it Tecmo Super Bowl III is the game that you guys chose to play? Because you said you play fantasy football. So is this the game that just everybody agreed upon is the best version to play through a season?
Well, a lot of the original players in the league kind of grew up playing this game as opposed to the original Tecmo Super Bowl. But not only that, like, we love the transactions. We love having free agency and being able to make 3 trade attempts per off season, so that way people can go to improve their teams. We also love spins, jumps, dives, all the things that you can do in the enhanced Super Nintendo version that you can't do in the original.
For me, so like when I started hanging out with these guys watching football, they were already hanging out playing Tecmo and watching football together, and I kind of came into it a little later. Right before we started the NFTGL, and I had grown up. I played regular Tecmo, and then eventually I sold my Nintendo as a kid. I put an ad in the paper, sold it, used all that money, and I sold like 30, 40 games, sold all of my stuff so that I could get a Sega Genesis when it came out, because it was like the new big thing. So I got a Genesis in 1 game, and eventually I got Tecmo Super Bowl III for Christmas one year when it came out. And I played a ton of Tecmo 3 on the Genesis. So when these guys started playing, they were talking about playing Tecmo 3 on the Super Nintendo. I was like, I can do that. And, but they've been doing it for a while. So.
And when did you make it, when did you make the decision to make it a 3-day event?
So it was like 2009 when we stopped doing the Sunday stuff. And Jordan and I were actually kind of the big catalysts, because we were the 2 people that kind of missed it the most. And we just talked about it off and on, and I threw the idea out of doing it as a weekend event. I was like, dude, we could get together on a Friday night, and like I ran the numbers on everything. Like I played games and timed them to see how long it would take, both computer games, and then I calculated out how long an entire weekend, an entire season would take, and realized that if we started at like 8 o'clock on a Friday night, we could get the whole weekend in. And I put the idea out there to everybody, and everybody was on board. So we gave it a shot, and it panned out. Now our league increased because we were only 8 players then. We increased to 10, which forced us to start earlier. Now we're kicking off at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday.
Yeah, you know, the endurance that you guys display to do this is quite impressive. That's what really drew me in the first time I heard about you guys doing this live on Twitch. The draw for me is like you guys start at 9 a.m. on a Friday, so I could watch a little bit at work, and then that whole weekend I'm like, you know, it could be in the afternoon after lunch, or you know, 2 in the morning because I can't sleep, and there you guys are. I could still go to you guys and watch some Tecmo. So that's really the draw. And I think it's awesome that you guys do it for that long over the weekend on Twitch. Yeah,
we've really enjoyed the Twitch stuff because people pop in all off and on throughout the weekend. Sometimes we get characters that have never watched us before, and then they'll show up. Like I know you were new this past season. There was another guy who was new in our stream chat, and he was with us all weekend. And it livens up the weekend for us as well when we have like new people coming along. We've had people over the years that pop in like as the playoffs come around, and then people that just show up and start talking shit to us.
We've seen them years later. Years later, checking in and still ragging on people, which is great. Yeah.
I think, you know, you guys do a really good job of responding to the chat as a whole. Because there's 10 of you. You're not always in front of the camera the whole time, but for the most part, there's a good 4 to 10 guys at some point that are all there in front of the camera ready to respond to the chat. I think that's a big part of the draw for me as well, is that, you know, if I do chat, you guys are ready to respond, and you guys have a good sense of humor about it too.
Yeah, we it didn't start that way. We started, this is actually going to be our 10th season now on Twitch, and it didn't start that way. When we first started doing it, we had it set up. We had no access to the chat. We had no idea what we were doing, and we were just putting it out there and letting people kind of like tune in and watch it. And some of the people that we knew that were watching would send private like text messages and stuff to guys in the room if they knew us. But we had no idea what was going on, and we kept getting feedback on things that we can do to improve our channel and improve what we're doing. And you know, we kind of take that to heart, and we're looking to not just improve what we're doing so that we have a good time, but also to try to make this more interesting for the people that are watching us as well.
And plus, Tecmo Super Bowl 3 is such a we feel like it's such a niche game that anyone who's willing to check in and watch our stream and see how we're doing and ask us questions, like we definitely want to respond to, because we're used to so many people asking about, you know, the original Tecmo Super Bowl. So anyone who shows interest in our channel, besides just checking on 10 dudes who were cranky, yelling at each other and being goofy all weekend, like it's interesting for us to get to talk to those people as well, who have maybe always thought, hey, I like this game, it's kind of underground, doesn't really have much of a following. Oh, hey, there are these guys who play it for 50 plus straight hours. So we enjoy that.
There's definitely appeal there as well. Me being a big original Tecmo Super Bowl fan, like you say, I just missed out on this game. They didn't make as many of them. The marketing wasn't as good at the time. So the fact that you guys are playing it, loving the game, I'm figuring out how to, you know, understanding the game through watching you guys play it, which is pretty cool. Because there is interest there. I just totally missed out on the game. Have no nostalgia for it. I know it's a game that existed, but now since you guys know the game better than most people out there, everyone could tune in and ask you guys questions, and you're definitely willing to help the community as a whole get better at the game.
Yeah, I think since we started this, I mean, going all the way back to the beginning in 2006, there's only been one other Tecmo 3 league that's existed in that time period, and they were an online league. And we've been the most active people, like on Tecmo Bowl, on the Tecmo Bowl website, just in the chat and talking to people. We've definitely been the most active. In fact, one of our members is somebody that I met on that website in the chat room. Our one coach, Eric, who flies in every season from North Carolina.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Rest of the guys are from Philly?
Originally, yes.
Originally, yeah.
We've got one guy that drives down from like mid-state New York, and one of our players recently moved to Tennessee. So he's flying in every season now from Tennessee. And then the other guy who we brought in, he's the one guy, Eric, is the only player so far that we've brought in from outside of our community of like friends and family members and stuff. So we only have 2 people related to each other in the league.
Okay.
That's too many.
If I remember correctly, the Friday you started, someone brought like an 80 sack of cheeseburgers. What was that all about?
Should I go for it? Yeah. All right. So, right now I'm coaching the Minnesota Vikings, and one of my division mates, Coach Bill, a couple seasons ago now, was coaching the Packers, and I dropped what we called a 60 burger on him. Means I beat him 60-0. So one of our viewers who was an ex-coach, Coach Lou, had 60 McDonald's cheeseburgers delivered to the house to commemorate the new season, to make sure that we never forgot that 60 burger happened.
Yeah, I think when I was watching someone, I think his name is also Tom. He took a big loss at the beginning, but then he got a lot better throughout the course of the weekend.
He did. Tom. So Tom is our newest coach, and it was his rookie season. And most of the time when we bring new people in, they take their lumps pretty heavily in the first season. So Tom got beat pretty bad. Bill, and the reason that it was a big deal that he lost that badly. Bill had just won two out of 3 championships. He was a season removed from that, and then lost 60-0.
Wow. Yeah, that's a rough one.
So it's one of the big things about the way our league functions. We rotate teams. So the game itself has a built-in free agency and trading system, so we can update our teams, but we only have our teams for 5 seasons. And then we rotate out, we do a draft and redraft our teams back to base rosters. So you can have a guy who gets a better team and puts in the time and does really well with them, which is what happened with Bill. And he did so well that he ended up with one of the worst teams and just had a really rough go of it.
So actually the player management plays a large part of the success in the season. So it's almost like there's like a fantasy football aspect to it, I guess you would say.
A little bit.
Draft.
Yeah, so we draft at very different levels. So it's we have 10 active teams for people to pick from. So the teams have, their default base rosters, but because you can attempt to make trades and you can upgrade through free agency. So and then the way we run free agency is also through kind of a draft based on performance. So people are constantly improving their teams, and the idea is, they should improve record-wise as well.
So why do you guys play the Super Nintendo version over the Genesis version?
I think the main reason was that's what they all played.
Yeah.
I like I said, I grew up with the Genesis. They all played Super Nintendo. None of them even ever had a Genesis.
I've never even played the Genesis version. I don't think I've played literally a second of it. I've never even seen the startup screen. So yeah.
He has. He played 1 quarter of a
ago
Genesis game a few years back. I just turned it on one day to show it to him, and I think we got like maybe 5 plays into the game, and he was like, "I'm done with this nonsense."
That sounds like something I would do.
The gameplay between the 2 versions is extremely different. The Genesis gameplay is much faster, and it also has some similarities to the earlier versions. So like regular Tecmo Super Bowl on even the Super Nintendo and the NES version. I assume, I know you're familiar with it, but hitting power doesn't really mean anything in a grapple in NES
right.
Tecmo. That's true of pretty much every other version of Tecmo on both the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, except for this version. in this version of the game, hitting power rules. So if I have a guy with 69 hitting power and you're trying to tackle me with a cornerback who has 13 hitting power, I'm going to run over you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
and
that's definitely a big difference from the earlier iterations of the game. And I'm going to field a couple questions from the chat just to keep them engaged here. I definitely want to ask you more questions about your season, but Troy in the chat says, talk about the NHL 96 tournament you run. And I don't think that happened, right?
It didn't happen. So one of the issues that obviously when you try to organize an event like this is scheduling. So what we ended up trying to do was the first weekend we had originally scheduled our NHL 96 event to be, ended up falling in the football playoffs time period. And obviously the Eagles did pretty well in the playoffs, so it didn't happen then. And then when we rescheduled it, we ended up rescheduling it for the basketball and hockey playoffs. And Philly just kept conflicting with Philadelphia playoff sports schedules. So it fell through again, and we haven't rescheduled it since then.
Makes sense. And then the other question is, do you guys remember a guy named Larry that was commenting in your Tecmo league?
That's actually the guy we were referring to. Yeah, we absolutely remember.
We couldn't ever forget Larry.
And we got one more question right now, and then we could take more at the end. Why did you guys choose the NFC to do your seasons? This is from Vincent.
So we found that the NFC, especially the Central and the West, kind of offer the most balance between teams, especially when you have 10-man controlled teams. All 10 teams kind of in that game, in those two divisions in the game are relatively solid to average, I would say. We used to do earlier iterations way back in the day, like 06 and 07, where we experimented. We tried other divisions, like in the AFC. But we just found that a lot of the teams were either too good or too bad within the same division, so it created huge disparity. So if you were lucky enough to get one of the really good teams like the Broncos or the Dolphins, you were just going to dominate. So we kind of found that the Central and the West, the way we set it up, offers the best parity and the best competitive balance in the game.
That makes sense.
So one of the things that we're doing is in a couple of seasons, we're actually we're staying in the NFC, but we're opening up the NFC East for the first time. So what we're doing is, as we've grown and gotten more comfortable with roster manipulation through trading, we're modifying some of the rosters to balance out those teams a little bit. But normally, base rosters wise, the Central and West and the NFC there's not like a high ceiling and a low floor, which happens in every other division in the game.
Right. So do you guys play for any money on the line, or you just do it for the sheer joy and love of the game?
Sheer joy and love of the game. We actually have a championship belt, which is currently in my car, which my wife just took to drop off my daughter's friend. I had every intention of bringing it in, but we were running late. So I rushed in here to get set up, forgot to bring the belt in, and now you don't get to see it.
They'll have to tune into the stream, and the stream is going to start, what is it, August 17th?
August 17th at 10 a.m. We'll kick off season 20, and that will run nonstop until about 10 p.m. on Sunday, August 19th.
Another example of how you guys have fun over the weekend, and this is something that you played for Jordan. When Jordan was playing man versus man games, since he was the champion, he gets to have a theme song on repeat. So the song for him was X is Gonna Give It To You by DMX. So right. Who thought of that idea? And then Jordan, why was that your song?
That's a really, really old tradition. Like really, really old. I think it's
season 1.
Since the very first season, back when we started playing in 06, 07, 06. We just decided to make that a rule. So kind of like in wrestling, how you have entrance music and theme music, we kind of adapted that idea. Like, hey, the champion should be able to listen to whatever awesome song they want to on repeat the entire time, or if they want to choose something that's completely and utterly ridiculous to play mind games on their opponent or to annoy the other 8 or 9 guys in the room, they can feel free to do so. Typically, when Ray and I have won, we used to have a string of like 80s pop, motivational fun songs that you would like hear in like really awesome kids movies like Short Circuit and stuff like that. But we hadn't really had much rap going on, so I wanted to bring DMX to the table. It kind of livened things up a little bit. It got people going. It's a long weekend, so anything with a lot of energy that gets the other guys in the room going a little bit is a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jordan's actually the only person in the 20 seasons plus that we've played where we had songs. He's the only person that's brought rap, and he's done it twice.
This is second time.
Yeah, I have a playlist on YouTube of potential songs, and like so every time I win, I go through my playlist and then I pick none of them and I go with something else completely off the wall.
Yeah.
So, what's been the most annoying song that someone's picked?
I want to say "Do" maybe.
We love "Do."
Everyone loved it, but it was still kind of annoying.
"Do" is a German song by David Hasselhoff that this guy picked for one of his seasons.
If you've ever seen the movie Euro Trip, there's a scene where David Hasselhoff is singing. It's like a love scene, and he's like on a beach in like a white shirt. There's a music video. It's "Do" D-U.
It had to be the Notre Dame fight song.
That's the very, very, very first song.
Yeah. That
was selected was the Notre Dame fight song, and
it's like a minute long.
I don't think that
on loop.
I don't think. Well, we only listened to it for 2 games.
That was enough.
And then he quit the league.
That was enough. Yeah.
So our very first champion, 2 games into the following season, he got shut out in back-to-back games and then quit our league.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he ended up coming back to the league like 6 seasons later.
Mm-hmm.
Is he still in or?
No, he missed about 6 seasons after that first one, came back, played about 6 or 7 seasons, and then stepped away again. But he's actually going to be playing in season 20.
Wow.
Our new guy, Tom, will not be in attendance. So we have a rule where we have interim coaches. So if somebody needs to miss a season for whatever reason, our rules allow that, and we'll bring somebody in. And this guy, his name's Chris, was like, he really wanted to get in here and come back for 1 season. So
that's great. Look forward to seeing him, see what he can bring to the table.
Yeah, he actually 1 season he played with one of his arms in a sling.
Oh, he messed his arm up so bad.
He messed his arm up like a week before the weekend, and he played the whole weekend with his arm in a sling.
And on pain meds. Yeah.
So for people that want to know Tecmo Super Bowl 3 a little bit better, who are the top 5 players in the game?
Rod Woodson, then probably Barry Sanders,
and then Rod Woodson.
No, I mean, because hitting power is such a big deal. When you get a defensive player like Rod Woodson who can just cover the entire field, has great hitting power, great interception ability, and slamming the tackle button doesn't matter as much. He can just shut teams down. He's amazing.
Rod Woodson is consequently the only banned player in our league.
We don't allow him.
Because as a defensive player, he's far better than every other defensive player in the game.
Yeah.
But he's easily the best player in the game.
Yeah.
Steve Young.
Probably Barry Sanders.
Yeah, Barry Sanders.
Because of his speed?
Yeah, his speed. Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas are the 2 fastest offensive players in the game.
Plus Barry spins a lot too.
Yeah,
which is what Tecmo Super Bowl 3, provides.
Yeah, like Barry has okay hitting power, and he has just a lot of like X factor. He's really good. Deion Sanders is probably one of the top 5 guys. And then I would probably say Seth Joyner. But
yeah, Seth Joyner can be dominant, which is awesome for us as Eagles fans, even though he's on the Cardinals in the game. But he's the best hands of any linebacker in the game, so he's really versatile. Computer-controlled Reggie White. That's just fearsome.
Yeah, there's definitely other factors. Like if computer-controlled players, there's certain players that are just like really hard to deal with. Like Emmitt Smith is a way better computer-controlled running back than Barry Sanders is.
Interesting.
But in man control, Barry's the better guy.
Barry's the best, yeah.
So we got a couple more things from the chat. We got a jokester saying 1975 called. They want their couches back. It's directed at.
Come on, don't mess with my grandfather chair right here. Literally,
it's man. I like that humor.
And then another question: how many pizzas do you guys usually order for the Tecmo party weekends?
See, we're very, very particular about what food we provide and prepare for the entire weekend.
It's diminished. The number of pizzas.
It really has.
I think the first few times we did pizza, we probably did like 10 to 15 pizzas.
We had a ton.
So I think we've dialed that back a bit. When we first started doing the weekend functions, we ate so poorly. It was all junk food, pizza, soda, and then we tried to like always do like a ton of meat. So like one of our guys brings like 3 pounds of beef jerky. The one guy's cooking ribs. One guy was cooking burgers. Like it was just a ton of meat, and I think people have kind of dialed back from that a little bit.
Mostly because it's a smelly weekend when you get 10 guys for 50 plus hours and that much red meat going around. It can be a little toxic.
Yeah, and the 60 McDonald's burgers in the first hour don't help either.
Yeah, actually, a lot of those went. I was really impressed at how many burgers our group was able to put away.
Well, I think a couple of the guys were just snacking on them all weekend.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you're sitting around, what are you going to do? You're going to eat.
Yeah.
Have a cheeseburger.
Another question from Vincent said, who's the favorite QB for you guys to control?
Mine is Jim Everett, hands down.
Yeah.
Or Dan Marino is – it's either Jim Everett or Dan Marino. I have a special connection to Jim Everett. I've won multiple championships with him.
He's actually the winningest quarterback in NFTGL history. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Everett has, I think, six titles in our league.
Yeah.
So is he just one of the better quarterbacks? Because I know, like in the original Tecmo Super Bowl, he's good in that too. So
he's good.
So Jim has a very unique stat line where there's only 5 players in the game that have 5 quarterbacks in the game that have passing accuracy as high as him or higher, and that's the stat in this game that controls whether a ball gets caught in coverage or caught at all. Like if you're throwing it to a guy who has really bad hands.
Yeah.
So when he throws a pass, it's more likely to get caught. But his stats also are built in such a way that he's still really good at throwing JJs.
Yep.
So, and his passing speed's it's not really fast. So you can't it's not super dynamic like a Dan Marino, but it's fast enough that you can still hit open windows on short routes and things like that. So he's just like all around like a really great quarterback at everything.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that much different from how he is in Tecmo Super Bowl either on the NES. So
yeah,
pretty.
Yeah, I mean he's got great targets in that one too.
Yeah. So Ray, you're currently the Man Bowl champion. So who is the preseason favorite for this next season coming up?
Other than me? I'm old.
It's always him. Every preseason, no matter who the defending champion is, it's always Ray. I know he doesn't like to brag about himself. He is by far the most humblest player in the league. Ray spends a great amount of time with the game. I'll speak for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
On your behalf.
Go ahead.
One of the best things about Ray is that he's a true gamer. Like no matter what game we play, board game, he sees strategy in ways that other people don't, and he just loves to sit and dissect the game, figuring out things that work, things that don't work, looking at stats, looking at numbers. Most of us don't. I know I don't. So usually that makes him the odds-on favorite. Doesn't hurt his odds winning that he has the most Man Bowl victories in league history. He's currently at 7. I'm currently at 5. So usually it's him. The one thing he has going against him, though, is that in the time that we've restarted the league, we've not had a repeat champion at all. Every season's been different, which is nice to shake things up. So even though he's got the belt right now, odds are saying that it's going to be hard to retain.
I think this is the perfect opportunity for me to ask Ray, since he's so good at strategy. Ray, why do you like to put flea flickers in your playbooks when you play in Tecmo Super Bowl live tournaments?
Tom, I'm going to a tournament in like 2 weeks. Do you want me to give out? I'm going to tell you because I don't really care. All right. So news. The likelihood of you actually turning the ball over on a fumble, on a called play, is really low. So I don't mind as much. But the main reason I use it is as a mind game. I put it in the playbook because unless I'm playing against a really good player, to anyway, because I know my skill set in that version of the game since I don't really play it. If I'm playing someone that's my skill level or lower, people have a tendency to go, oh crap, a flea flicker, let me call it for the free turnover. And then I don't use it. I'll go an entire game without ever calling it. While my opponent is sitting on it, and I know they're calling other things, I run the corresponding running play to go with it, and I use that a lot. So if I know they're not sitting on the flea flicker, I'll then go to the flea flicker, and they will bite on it because they just assume I'm running, and then it ends up a lot of times. Like the last tournament I went into, I scored 6 touchdowns on the flea flicker throughout the course of the tournament.
What? That's crazy.
I'm a run heavy player generally, so I'll run and run and run and run, and then I throw the flea flicker in, and they just bite on it like they think it's the run, and my guy's just running free downfield, and it works really well.
Yeah, I will give you that. You could probably get one on a good player if you're pounding in the run, because like you said, there's corresponding running plays. And, if they go for that run, then that deep guy's going to be wide open. And also, too, playing a little bit of Tecmo Bowl, the original one, there's only 4 plays. So if you could get by playing that game, then you could spare a player or two in an 8-play lineup like, Tecmo Super Bowl. So that makes sense.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've learned, or I know that I've learned, playing in the NFTGL, we don't allow playbook changing in the NFTGL. So when you draft a team, you're drafting their playbooks as well. So we get really comfortable with using really crappy plays and trying to make them do stuff. So there's certain playbooks that you'll go into where there's 2 or 3 good plays and then 4 or 5 plays that are just completely. And sometimes you can just sit in that playbook and put drives together, put entire games together, where people don't play call appropriately, and because there's if they don't catch you on the play properly, you can do that. So me throwing out one crappy play in an 8-play playbook in the NES version is nothing to me.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. One thing I wanted to bring up, because I was playing the Tecmo Super Bowl 3 on Genesis a while back, and I don't know if it's the same in the Super Nintendo, but it seems to me like the transitions in between the plays take a lot longer than playing the, even Tecmo Super Bowl, the original on Genesis, Super Nintendo, because there's multiple layers to it. So do you guys find that slows you down, or it's just you guys are in the rhythm and it doesn't matter?
Actually, us down the most, as our seasons have progressed, is the amount of time that our players spend checking conditions of their players on the field between quarters. A lot of times our guys kind of like know what defensive formation they're going to pick. I assume that's what you're referring to, like picking your defensive formation, picking which of the 2 playbooks you're going to go into, and then picking one of 8 plays, right? Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of our guys just kind of breeze through that. That doesn't take as much thought, but a lot of the time is like each quarter, or depending on how a player feels when they actually get there on the field, they might cycle back and want to check the conditions and see who's in average, bad, excellent, good. That's kind of dragged out our videos anywhere from like 25 to 30 minutes to now like 30 to 40 minutes per man game.
Yeah, so the the big difference between the two, obviously, is that extra screen, where you're in this version, offense gets to choose between two playbooks, and the defense gets to choose which defensive formation they want. But another big part of it, like Jordan's saying about the player conditions, in the NES version, you don't have a defense. You can't look at your conditions on defense during a game. And you can look at your conditions because you actually have like a full roster of players on defense. So it's by adding more to the game, you add more decisions and longer time between gameplay,
which we love. It adds strategy. It adds a lot of depth to the game.
Right. No, it makes sense. So where can people follow your league and your seasons, and what is the name of the Twitch channel? I have it in the description of this video right now. But what is the name of the Twitch channel, and where can people follow your seasons?
So everything that we do is under our acronym NFTGL. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. It's all under NFTGL.
Cool. So before we wrap up with the Tecmo Super Bowl 3 part, does anyone in the chat have any questions? And then also, do you guys have any questions for me?
You gonna be watching us this season?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there's no reason not to, because you're live for so long. It's easy to know you could tune in at any time. You could, if you're live for 3 days straight, you know there's going to be some moments in time where you could just flip on your phone and start watching, or maybe even put you on the TV and watch like that for a little bit. It's a lot harder when people live stream and it's just like a single game, or it's a span of time. What we do, we play at Monday nights at Dima and Tap, and we're live usually for about 6 to 8 hours. So that gives opportunity for people to tune in. But 3 days, you can't beat it, especially late at night, whenever, you know. So yeah, I'll be watching. I'm a fan of what you guys do. I mean, I've only seen one season, but I've been itching for this next one.
Yeah, well, we're always looking to improve our stuff. We're always looking to make things more competitive within our league. We actually we get together every off season and do rules and stuff like that. So we're always looking to improve what we're doing so that, you know, we can enjoy it more, but so also that everyone that's watching us can enjoy it. So
yeah, I remember the championship game for the last one that you guys did. There was quite a few people watching that last game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so every season, our weekends, and I think over the years, that's kind of where people have gravitated to, is people will check in here and there over the course of the weekend, but then everyone that's checking in tries to show up at the end of the day on Sunday and watch our playoffs and watch our championship game. So I think I think the one season we had like over 40 people watching our championship game, which is way more than we get at any other point during the weekend.
Yeah, I think it used to be like we would spike at like 17, somewhere under 20 it used to be, but now it's ballooned, which is really awesome for us. So
yeah, we're still waiting for ESPN the Ocho to call us.
The Ocho.
Yeah. ESPN
Vincent's asking if I bought the game yet. I do have it on the Genesis. I might even have it on the Super Nintendo, but I haven't dove into it yet.
So Tom, I'll tell you straight up, having played both versions of the game, I know there are people out there that still play the Genesis version. I grew up with the Genesis version. Both of the games have flaws. They have glitches and some problems with them that are relatively easy to adjust, and we deal with them as a league. There is a glitch on the Genesis version of the game where if you punt the ball away, your coverage guys can get to the returner before the ball. And if that happens, the ball hits the turf and no one's able to pick it up, and you basically have to reset the game. And it's the only glitch between the two systems that causes that. That alone, for me, is enough to not play that version.
Yeah, I mean, now you're talking about like the game is potentially broken. How many times does that happen?
When I was growing up playing through a season, I mean, it happened enough. Like
Yeah.
I'd say this was back when it was me and my brother and like one or two other friends like playing seasons overnight on weekends. And I mean, it probably happened 3 or 4 times in a season. So between the group of us.
Yeah, that's a large percentage. Oh, a group of you? Yeah, I was gonna say if it was a single player 3 or 4 times, that's pretty rough. But a group of you, but still, it's like you got to replay that whole game just because of a glitch.
Well, and then you also run the risk, like during the entire weekend, we never want to manually reset the cart. You know, that thing is sacred. Like, don't breathe near it, don't touch it. If you have to change a controller out, it's done by the gentlest hands in the room. You know, so anything that could freeze the game, a power outage, anything like that, has the chance to reset the entire season that we've been playing. The cart can reset. You know, so all of a sudden we could lose all the progress that we've made over the last, dozens of hours. So, anything we can do to cut down on glitching or the game freezing or resetting.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate actually. We've played 20 plus seasons now, and we've never had that happen. Never once have we had a battery die on us during the weekend.
I did wonder about that, and I wanted to ask that question, but I didn't want to like screw it up for you guys. So I'm glad you brought it up and not me. So I hope that doesn't happen to you guys ever.
It's something we talk about it all the time because something usually, because we're running everything for such a long period of time. Like this past season, we had a power outage.
Our first power outage.
And like that was the biggest thing was, oh shit, what happens if the if the cart dies? So we actually have fail safes set in place in case something like that happens. So it might cost us a little bit of time, but we can finish out our season. So like we keep a backup copy of our cart where each season I update all the rosters on a backup copy. So if we have to go to that during the weekend, or like if the cart, we had one season actually where it was like before the first games ever got played, that we went and turned the game on and the cart was dead. So we just used the backup cart from the beginning on. So I guess
that's smart to do, especially if you guys got guys flying in for it. You got to make sure it's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So there hasn't been a lot of live tournaments since the last time we did one of these retro sports gaming monthlies. There's been one online tournament though I want to talk about. The TGFN Retro had their championship, their online tournament. There was about 32 guys in it, and Troy was the main guy behind it. Did a lot of commentary with all the guys contributing in color. I don't know if you've seen it. I know Vincent in the chat has seen a lot of them, but no surprise, Joey Gatz wins the championship. But what it was surprising is there's a guy named QB Lyons. I'm not even sure what his real name is, but he's not that well known, and he ended up getting second place versus some of the top talent in Tecmo Super Bowl.
I actually run NES tournaments in the Philly area every now and then, probably like every other year. It was I don't know if you know Matt DeGeorge. He's probably the best player on the East Coast, especially now that Mort moved. Not that I would say Buffalo is on the East Coast, but he at Matt's first tournament was one that I ran. We had a guy show up for the tournament that no one knew, and I'd been to a bunch of tournaments prior to this. No one had ever met him. He showed up. He went winless in pool play, and all of his games were losses by like 35 plus. And he then got into the elimination round because it was just for seeding the pool play, and he beat everybody and went undefeated to the championship game, and then lost to Matt coming out of the losers bracket.
How does that happen? Was he just gaming everyone the whole time?
Sounds like it.
He had to be. I had no idea. It blew my mind. I've never seen someone intentionally go, I want the last seed in the tournament so that I can win.
What was that guy's name? Do you remember?
I have it written down somewhere. I don't remember it offhand. No, he's never been to another tournament.
Oh, really? He just one and done?
Yep. Yeah, it was nuts. We had every tournament I've run, more than 50% of the people have been new players that have never returned. We even had a group of guys show up once, and they were like livid that you were allowed to change playbooks. And
What?
there were 5 of them, and 3 of them in this tournament had gotten into the elimination round. 2 of them won in the first round, and then they all just left. Like,
Wow.
they
were mad about it?
Yeah, they were furious. They were like, "This is ridiculous. This is stupid."
Is the one a Game Junkie?
Yeah.
It's interesting how everyone has their own way to play the game, especially if they take it seriously. I know I brought up to you, Ray, that the tournament I did in Chicago was the hardcore tournament, which allowed everything. But then, you know, you're talking about guys who were mad because you could just change the playbooks. So they wanted to lock it down as, you know, even more. So
everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah. Because you guys have a ton of rules in your no frills tough guy league. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard to keep track. I will say that, because I'm like, why does this guy on this team, or why can't he trade? And you guys have all these rules in place.
Yeah, they're all on our website, NFTGL.com. Go take a look at them.
All right, so let's talk about some of the up and coming tournaments, guys, because that's really been the only thing. But the summer is locked, loaded, and ready with a bunch of tournaments here. The one that's coming up is the Midwest Tecmo Super Bowl tournament. Friday night, there's a free RBI baseball tournament. They have a trophy. Chris Vogt and the Vogt brothers run this tournament in Cincinnati, Ohio. That tournament I will be streaming on this channel, the Retro Sports Gamer, on YouTube.
Are you going to get David Fulcher on there with you?
What's that?
Are you going to get David Fulcher on there with you?
Well, I'm pretty sure David Fulcher won't be there Friday. He will most likely just be there Saturday for the Tecmo Super Bowl tournament.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So I don't know if he hops on the stream or not. I know Chris and Tecmo Psycho Derek are going to be running the stream for the Tecmo Super Bowl tournament, and I believe it's on the Midwest Tecmo Twitch channel. So that's like MW Tecmo. Okay. So the main Tecmo tournament, that's the main event. That's what people have paid in to play. So David Fulcher's there, star player from the Bengals. This is the first time I'm going to their big tournament. So, and it's their 11th annual, so I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get out there at some point. I don't get to travel for big events like that very often.
Yeah, there's a ton of events, and you'll see that as I go through the rest of these here. The guys on the West Coast, Camp Huna is running the Garage League, the Cascadian Effin' Tecmo League. This is their season 2. It's more similar along the lines of what you guys are doing, because they're playing in a garage, and they have, I believe, 10 to 12 players, and they've already pre-drafted their teams based off of like some kind of salary cap. I believe Brewdog, one of the guys in the Tecmo Super Bowl community, created a system for them. And if you check on TecmoBull.org, their thread has been blowing up more than anything. I mean, every day they have like new things to look at. Someone just made these great guides. They look like a program for the weekend of each team. Like if you were to buy it at a football game or a baseball game. So it's really interesting. I would check it out. I saw their test stream or they got together and played with the teams a little bit because they're drafted teams. And one of the cool things that they're going to have on their stream is 2 games going at once on the same screen. So you'll be able to watch 2 games on a single stream.
That's pretty wild.
Wow.
So it's not switching back and forth. It's 2 on 1. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Obviously, I'll be playing at the Midwest Tecmo Super Bowl, so I can't be as engaged as I want to. But since it's on the West Coast and it's in a garage, you'll be able to view it later, and that's also on July 28th.
That's really cool. It's like a red zone double box view. You get just 2 games at once.
Yeah, so it's the first time I've seen anyone doing that with the retro gaming. So well, not retro gaming, but sports related. So it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. There's another tournament also on July 28th is Tecmo Dallas Retro World Series is putting that on at the Let's Play Gaming Expo. So it should be interesting to see how that turns out. The last tournament that Hal did was in Philly, actually, and Matt DeGeorge won that tournament.
Yep.
So they had a decent turnout there. I think they had about 16 players. So it'll be good to see. They run their own stream as well, Retro World Series and Tecmo Tour. So check that out. And that's just July. August, we got a ton of tournaments coming up. On August 4th, we have the Tecmo Jam Cleveland. So the Tecmo tournament's first, and that's going to be streaming on TGFN channel, TGFN Retro. And then the next day, they got the NBA Jam tournament, NBA Jam TE.
That's fun.
And
That's awesome.
The guys I play with in Chicago are going to that tournament. Specifically, NBA Jam is loaded with guys that play on Monday night with us. My brother and my cousin are not going to the Tecmo tournament, but they're going to NBA Jam along with Mort, DPS, and Joseph. So there's 5 guys from Chicago going to play in that. And we also found out a couple weeks ago that my cousin's a stud at NBA Jam TE. Urged him to go play in the tournament. I played him 3 straight times. I thought I was one of the best players, and he beat me 3 times in a row. I'm like, dude, you got to go play in this tournament if you have this date free because you're a beast.
So I was very mistaken when I picked up that game a few years ago. I just tried it. I hadn't really played it growing up at all, and I just kept shooting 3-pointers. And some of the guys in our league that I was playing with were yelling at me because it's called NBA Jam, so you're supposed to dunk. But I just kept trying to shoot the 3. So I wasn't very good at it, I guess.
Well, you know, the Super Nintendo version, it's easier to hit threes. This NBA Jam TE on the Genesis, which the tournament's on, it's a lot tougher to hit threes. You're better off just going for dunks most of the time.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that same day, there's a tournament in Minnesota, so in the opposite direction and a little further north. This is Sammy Smith, 33, running this tournament. It's Millard's Mayhem 3, the Teen Wolf League. One of the big highlights of this tournament that I've seen so far is that Chris, the guy running it, has a ton of raffle prizes, and they all tie into, you know, Tecmo Super Bowl, 90s football. He's got starting lineups. He's got like a WWF World Championship belt that's made out of metal, ready for the champions. So similar to what you guys do too. I don't know if they get to keep it or not, but he's got all sorts of things lined up for it. And they're a wild bunch because they were in a convention last year, and I guess they were not asked to come back for this one. So they had to it's at a bar this year because
well, depending on why they got kicked out of the convention, the bar is probably more fitting.
Yeah. So that one will be fun to watch. I'm not sure about the stream or not, but you could check that out on tecmobowl.org. Tecmo Phoenix is the following weekend, August 11th. That's also by Retro World Series. Then also August 11th is another expo. It's the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, and this one's an NHL 94 tournament. The guy throwing the tournament is King Raff, and he's one of the best NHL 94 players. You guys familiar with him?
I'm familiar with King Raff. I think I bumped into him on NHL94.com. Or on a Facebook page or something where I commented on, because he had just won something, and I commented on it. So he and I chatted back and forth a little bit. But I'll actually be at the gaming expo.
Oh, you'll be there.
There's a Tecmo tournament there as well.
That was the next one I was going to talk about.
All right.
So yeah, NHL 94, they're getting the spotlight at this tournament with King Raff throwing that tournament. He doesn't play in it. So they usually get a pretty good turnout. I've heard they've had 30 plus. So they're looking to get about 64 people in there. And then the reason you're going, the Garden is the Retro Tecmo tourney. I believe Chaos Rising's throwing the tournament.
Yeah.
Which he had a pretty good run at Tecmo Philly himself. And I think he won the Jersey Cup.
Yeah, the Jersey. Yeah.
Right? Yes.
Yeah. We live streamed the Jersey Cup on our Twitch page.
Yes. I remember that. I did watch some of the replay because I believe it was the same day as the Tupa Bowl, I want to say.
Yeah. That'll actually be going up on our YouTube channel in a couple of weeks.
Cool. Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. It looked like it was a good time, and it's good to hear a familiar voice because I've heard you so much the one weekend I watched you guys. So it looked like you guys had a good time over there, and I like that cup that they have. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. It was actually a lot of fun for me. I've never streamed and like set up and run a stream for another group of people. So it was pretty neat, and like being able to sit there and do commentary after I got my ass kicked was pretty fun.
Yeah, and I think one of the highlights of this tournament, reading about it, is it's free for new players.
That's correct.
And then $20, I believe, for people who've played in it before. So it's a good strategy to get some new people to try it out, especially at a gaming convention where there's guys willing to play games. It's the whole reason they're there. So
yeah, they actually, I was looking at their website today, and they have something like 20 different video game tournaments going on at the convention over the course of the weekend. I'm actually trying to get Jordan to go up there with me.
Is it because you saw there was a GoldenEye tournament?
Yes, yeah. They have a GoldenEye tournament, and he's like a big GoldenEye fan from like when he was in college. And I'm awful at GoldenEye. Like I just throw shoes at people or something, but he knows everywhere to like mine so people auto die and
slappies.
Oh, slaps only. It takes forever.
It takes forever. All right, moving on to
There's also a Street Fighter 2 tournament.
That would be for you.
Well, anyway, you could get Jordan to go with you. I'm for it.
Oh, pressure's on now. Pressure's on now.
So leading up to the big King of 94 tournament, we're doing an NHL 94 tournament on August 13th at D-Men Tap. We're going to start featuring one game a month, a different sports game. Pretty much this day, we're expecting a visit from one of the top players out there that won King of 94 last time, which is Angry J 93. So he will be playing in that tournament, and we're going to try to take him down.
Good luck. I've seen some of the, like, these top guys are pretty consistent from tournament to tournament in the NHL games.
Yeah, I played him at Troy's tournament in Wisconsin, and he beat me up pretty good. And it wasn't even in his dominant game, which was Genesis. It was Super Nintendo, but he's really good at both. So not expecting to win, but expecting to have a good time, drink some beers. And it'll be a free tournament, and the winner will get a gift card to the bar. So it should be a fun stream to watch. Then is your guys' event. Don't forget, August 17th through the 19th. That's no mistake. These guys 3 days straight streaming, guys eating burgers, cracking jokes. Maybe Larry will make another appearance.
We hope.
Oh, yeah. So look forward to that. It's NFTGL on Twitch. Then on August 18th, Mort is hosting a Tecmo Players Championship qualifier at D-Men Tap. This is on a Saturday. So this will be the same weekend as your guys, but it's not going to take 3 days. So I'll be able to tune into the stream the other times.
No, I actually like it when there's Tecmo tournaments going on around the country on our weekends, because usually people will hop in to our chat and tell us what's going on and like talk about who won the tournament, and it's fun. It adds to the conversation.
Yeah, and then even you guys who's ever not playing could watch, and interact there. So I think it works out well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that tournament's only a $5 buy-in. First place either gets a choice of the cash or the $150 value of the buy-in. So there's no cash value for that, but he's throwing a big high money tournament in September, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But this is just the qualifier for that. Then we got one other one in September. This is Tecmo New Orleans. This is at a brewery, also being put on by Retro World Series. So this is the first Tecmo tournament that that Hell's doing outside of a convention. So it's at a brewery. Should be a good one.
Yeah, I know from what the guys were saying about the Philadelphia tournament they ran is they put up a pretty impressive show.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's got an excellent setup, stream. Just once we get some commentators on the stream, it'll be even better because it looks cool, and he's got an excellent setup. So I'm looking forward to see how that turns out at a brewery. And then the tournament I was just talking about, the qualifier for, is the Tecmo Players Championship. It's a $150 buy-in. It's going to be 12 to 24 players. So top first place is going to at least get $1,000. So what do you guys think of this idea? Because I've asked the votes last time. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what you think of a high buy-in Tecmo Super Bowl tournament.
I mean, definitely not. I think it's awesome. I think there's a lot of high-end competition around the country, especially in the Midwest. So I think something like that could be a lot of fun as long as the people that are playing can afford to buy in.
Of course. Yeah. I think it's something that people commit so much time to and they're so skilled at that you might as well, if you have the money to do it, throw it in a high buy-in tournament and go away a big winner. 100% of the buy-ins going to the players. So
yeah. I'm sure Joey Gatz won't mind winning it all.
Yeah. If he gets to play in the tournament, I'm not sure if he's 100% in yet, but he will be a tough challenger for sure.
Now you know Joey's a local Philly boy, right?
Oh, I know about Joey Gatz.
All right.
We'll see what he could do. Last time he came to Chicago, he didn't get the victory in the hardcore tournament.
No?
No, I knocked him off.
Wow. I had no idea.
You didn't tune into the stream.
No, I could. I don't remember what was going on.
No, I think in Tecmo Super Bowl, and it might be the same in Tecmo Super Bowl 3, you get to a certain level that a few plays that go your way, you can get a win, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's one of the draws is that, if you get, even if a guy might be better than you, if you get one or two breaks, that could be the difference in the game, and you can move on.
Yeah. You get a turnover, a good play here, a jumping catch, an onside kick recovery, anything like that can swing the momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the bigger tournaments, too, they do double elimination, which I like. Double elimination is great because you got one game to give, but I think, for the tournaments that I throw, I like single because it's just like the suspense. It's more like a March Madness bracket. Mm-hmm. And that's how, the NFL is too. Once you get to the playoffs, it's just one and done. So,
yeah, I think one of my favorite things about Tecmo tournaments since, for as long as I've been going is pool play because it guarantees that I get more than a couple games in.
Yeah.
So I'm usually like I'm a middle of the pack guy. So, going and, doing okay in pool play and then, maybe winning a few games in the elimination rounds, it's fun. But if I went to just a straight up single elimination tournament, if I'm driving more than 45 minutes to an hour to get there, getting bounced in the first round would suck.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you on that. And that's one of the great things about the tournament that Mort's throwing, the high buy-in, is not only is it a high buy-in, but the pool play consists of 11 games. So you're guaranteeing you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah,
it's a fair trade-off.
Yeah, it's like flying in for the No Frills Tough Guy League. You're guaranteed getting your money's worth.
11 game pool play, man. That's wild.
Yeah, and you know the games are definitely quicker than playing Tecmo Super Bowl 3 takes a little bit longer just because of the play calling and stuff and the strategy, which we talked about earlier. But you'll get your money's worth in the games you get to play against top competition. And then the last tournament I want to talk about, and then there might be some other tournaments in October, but the big one that's coming up is the one in Vancouver, Canada, and that's the King of 94 tournament on October 28th.
Yeah, that's the big, like, that's kind of like the NHL 94. That's like the Madison of hockey.
Yes, exactly. Halifax, Mikey McBride, they're the main two behind it. And that's the one the people fly out for. They all go to. And they play it both on Genesis and Super Nintendo.
Yeah, don't they do it's like 2 separate tournaments for each system?
Yep. Wow. Definitely. They're a lot different, those games, I found out.
Yeah, when I was doing the research for the NHL 96 event that we were looking to do, there was a lot of debate whether we would play on the Genesis or the Super Nintendo. And we just we went with the Genesis just because I had enough equipment to run it on the Genesis, but also because everything online says the Genesis is better for the hockey games. But when I started looking into the controls of those games, the Super Nintendo version just has so many different things that you can do with the paddle that you just can't do on a 3-button Sega Genesis controller.
I hear you. Good point there. We're just looking at the chat. We got one of the guys, Rogue Gamer. He says QB Club tourney in December. He loves the quarterback club, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a lot of questions. Ray, are you Brian Westbrook or Deuce Staley?
Westbrook all day. All day.
And I'm sure they're pretty excited about we're excited about the Eagles Super Bowl championship, so I don't think I really need to ask that question.
Yeah, if you guys if everybody tunes in on our YouTube channel, our playoff videos from our last season just started dropping on YouTube. So the way we do it is after we play our weekend, we drop 3 videos a week every week for the entire off season. So our playoffs just started dropping the last couple of nights. So our Man Bowl game will be dropping it this coming weekend. And I'm sporting in that game the hat I'm wearing right now, which is the Eagles Super Bowl hat, and a Super Bowl champion shirt. Yeah, we were stoked, man. It was the whole weekend we were talking about it.
We're never going to get past it. It could be 25 years from now. We'll still be talking about it, feeling good. That's all we got. That's all we got.
So, guys, thanks a lot for joining me tonight. Before we wrap up, is there any social media stuff you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I mean, you don't follow us. If you're interested in what we do, check us out on Facebook, NFTGL. Our YouTube page, our YouTube channel, we're posting 3 videos a week, every week, all year round. Check us out on those 2. All of our video publishings get announced on Twitter. If you're a big Twitter user and you want a reminder there, just NFTGL everywhere. That's what we do.
And don't forget, guys, August 17th through 19th, twitch.tv, No Frills Tough Guy League. That's NFTGL. Tune in. It's going to be a great time. Man Bowl happens on Sunday. And the YouTube channel, what is that? Rogue Gamers asking in the chat.
NFTGL. Just look up NFTGL. We're the only ones.
Okay.
Past all the NFL bullshit.
Got it. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everyone, for watching. And thanks to you guys for joining me. And I hope to talk to you guys again. But I will definitely see you for your stream in August.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
No problem. Take care.
See ya.
See you, man.